A Beginner's Guide to Number Talks. On the front of for the opening slide, you will see a book called Number Talks, which is written by Sherry Parrish. We are going to go through some of the key points of the introductions of this book. So the first thing I want you to do is just kind of sit back and think about this image that you see right here on the screen. The image depicts a student who is looking at a teacher, very confused, not really understanding what she's talking about. And it's apparent that whatever the teacher talked about yesterday has nothing to do with what she's talking about today. Oftentimes, our students experience situations just like this where they come to class, they're ready to learn, but they're looking at the teacher like, what are we doing? That's not what we did on yesterday. There's a lot of confusion. Think about this for a moment. You're a student, you're sitting in the classroom, and this is what's put on the screen. What is 45% of 63? Now, up to this point, we have to assume that students have not been given much strategies or any kind of formula to be able to get the answer to this problem. A lot of times, this is what students see when they see a math problem on the board. They have no idea how one variable relates to another. Here's another example. I want you to try to mentally solve 85 minus 29. No paper, no pencil. Do it in your head. What kind of strategies do you think you could come up with? So you've had a few minutes to think about it. Let's go on to the next slide, see what we can possibly come up with. Here are some examples of possible solutions. You could take 85 and break it down into 70 plus 15. And then you can break down 29 into place values of 20 minus 9. And you can subtract them. And you end up with 56. That's mental math. Or you could use the skip line process. Saying from 29 plus 1. And then skipping ahead 50 points, or 50. And then adding 5 more. So then you have 1 plus 50 plus 5, which equals 56. You could also take 85 minus 29. The difference in 85 plus 1 is 86, and then 29 plus 1 is 30. And then subtract the two of those. So basically, you've taken away the portion of regrouping and made it simpler for yourself. Or you can just remove parts. Let's talk a little bit. What is Number Talks? Number Talks is a short, ongoing daily routine that provides students with meaningful, ongoing practice with computation. So it doesn't just happen once a week or twice a week. It's something that's repetitive that happens consistently. It can be up to 3 times a week or 4 to 5 times a week, but there has to be consistency with Number Talks. You want to keep the talks short. Anything more than 15 minutes, you're going to lose the student's attention. Number Talks are not intended to replace current curriculum or to take up the majority of the time spent on mathematics. They still have to learn the standards. You still have to meet the goals that have been outlined by your district. But Number Talks will help facilitate and guide and wake up those cobwebs that are in a student's brain. You only want to spend 5 to 15 minutes on Number Talks. Talks are most effective when done every day. Some questions to ask yourself. What is the goal of Number Talks? What's the difference between computational fluency and memorization? Why not use flashcards, or when should they be used? Is the lesson purposeful practice? What is it for? So what does Number Talks look like? We've already talked about the fact that it's going to be between 5 to 15 minutes. You want to have students near each other so they can talk and communicate with each other. If you're working in a virtual platform, go ahead and have breakout sessions, or you can have a chat box available where students can kind of dialogue and talk to each other for a few seconds or minutes. Students are mentally solving problems. They shouldn't have calculators or papers or anything like that. Students are given thinking time. So thinking time is not going to be 1 minute. It may be 2 to 3 minutes for them to sit there and think about the question that's been given. Thumbs up show when they are ready. So once they give them the problem on the board or on your virtual screen, then they can give a thumbs up or they can raise their hand in the virtual platform to let you know they are ready to proceed. The teacher's job is to record students' thinking. Whatever they're thinking, whatever they're saying, you record it or type it down. You write it down or you record it. Purposeful problems. Start with small numbers so that students can learn to focus on the strategies instead of getting lost in the numbers. So even if you're working with a 4th or 5th grade classroom, if they have never learned number talks before, don't start them off with a crazy problem like 45 times 16. Give them something a little bit smaller that may be a little more 2nd or 3rd grade level, just to kind of get them used to the process of thinking without paper. You can use a number string, which is a string of problems that are related to and scaffold each other. So I have up here K-12 number talk, but this is really more geared for K through 2nd grade. You can use Reckon Recs, 10 frames, or dot cards. What 1st grade students see in the number 12? So here's just an example. A teacher gave students a 10 frame of the number 12, and she asked them, what do you see? The students wrote 12 dots, 8 are empty, 6 dots, six groups of 2 are 12. Then you have 2 10 frames. You can see all the many examples of what students saw. And then again, it just gets their minds thinking to expand beyond what they normally see. They begin to understand what a number is, not that it's just a number. This is an example of a 1st grade standard. Here's an example of some building computational fluency worksheets that students can be given at the beginning of a lesson or the beginning of a day. It can also be a handy tool that can go inside their notebooks that they can refer to, because again, it provides the answer and shows different ways of thinking. So what could a number talks look like for 3rd through 8th grade? Multiplication and division, decimals, and fractions is what you can use for number talks with these grade levels. How to start number talks in your classroom. So you want to start with specific problems in mind. Be prepared to offer a strategy from a previous student. It is okay to put a student's strategy on the back burner. Limit your number talks to 15 minutes. You want to ask questions, not tell the answer. So this is the meat and the potatoes of number talks. There are 5 key components of number talks. Number 1 is classroom environment and community. Number 2 is classroom discussions. Number 3, the teacher's role. Number 4, the role of mental math. And number 5, purposeful computation problems. So the classroom environment and the community. You want to make sure the environment is building a cohesive classroom community that is safe and free of judgment for all students. Students should be able to come in and feel free to share, even if their answer is going to be wrong. Okay? The culture should be one of acceptance based on a common quest for learning. It will take time and practice for students to learn this routine. Same thing for teachers. Classroom discussions. The teacher would write the problem on the board and students have time to solve the problem mentally. Then give students time to share their ideas in groups of maybe 2 or 3. Then a student will be called on or can volunteer to express what their answer is going to be and defend it or justify their answer. If they're wrong, that verbal communication part of it will help them find some reasoning. And another student may come and chime in and say, let's look at it this way. And it'll become a dialogue about these numbers. The teacher's role. You are a facilitator in the number talks. You are not the one who's giving answers. You're not the one who's giving instruction. You are just a facilitator. You should shift into the role of facilitator during a number talk session. You want to guide students to ponder and discuss examples that build upon your purpose. Ask probing questions such as, how did you solve this problem? And give them time to respond. The role in mental math. Mental math encourages students to build on number relationships to solve problems instead of relying on memorized procedures. It also helps students to strengthen a child's idea. It also helps strengthen a child's idea of place value without pencil and paper. And lastly, purposeful computation problems. You want to make sure you're crafting the problems that guide students to focus on mathematical relationships. The teacher's goal and purposes for the number talk session should determine the number and operations chosen. So that is just a brief overview of number talks and how you can be successful when you're designing your lesson plans and creating mini lessons for number talks. Thank you.